Imagine this. Someone asks you for a favor. You're already exhausted. Your schedule is full. Your mind is overloaded with things you still haven't finished. Your body is quietly telling you to say no, but your mouth says yes. You smile. You say, "Yeah, of course, no problem." You even try to sound enthusiastic. Then, later that night, you're lying in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering why you feel so drained, so irritated, and strangely invisible in your own life. If that scene feels familiar, you're not just a nice person. You might be someone who has learned to abandon yourself. And the dangerous part is that society often rewards this behavior. People praise you for it. They call you kind, reliable, easy to work with, selfless. You're the one everyone trusts, the one everyone calls when they need help, the one who never makes things complicated. But beneath that reputation, there is often a quiet cost that almost no one talks about. Because the person who is nice to everyone is very often the person who is the least honest about their own needs. And over time, that slowly erodes something extremely important: your sense of self. Many people proudly describe themselves as the nice one in the room, the one who avoids conflict, the one who keeps the peace, the one who makes things easier for everyone else. But there is a question most people never ask themselves: are you kind, or are you afraid? Because real kindness comes from strength. People-pleasing often comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being disliked, fear of disappointing people, fear that if you upset someone, they might leave. So instead of expressing what you truly think or feel, you adjust. You soften your opinions. You hold back your frustration. You laugh at things that don't actually feel funny. You agree when you don't agree. You say yes when your entire body is saying no. And slowly, without even noticing it, you begin to disappear inside your own life. At first, this strategy feels safe. When you keep people happy, conflict decreases. When you stay agreeable, tension stays low. When you avoid disagreement, situations remain calm. But there is a hidden psychological cost to constantly managing other people's comfort. You stop asking one very simple but very important question: what do I actually want? Instead, your brain becomes trained to scan the environment. Who needs something? Who might get upset? What would make this situation smoother? How can I make everyone comfortable? You become extremely good at reading emotional signals, but not for connection, for survival. Psychologists sometimes call this pattern the fawn response. Most people are familiar with fight, flight, or freeze, but there is another response that appears in environments where conflict feels dangerous. Fawn, the instinct to please in order to stay safe. When fighting feels impossible and escape feels risky, the nervous system finds another strategy: appeasement. Be helpful, be agreeable, be easy. If people are happy with you, you won't be rejected. If people approve of you, you won't be abandoned. For many people, this pattern began early in life. Maybe expressing anger led to punishment. Maybe saying no caused guilt or emotional distance. Maybe approval only appeared when you were useful, helpful, or quiet. So your nervous system adapted. It created a rule that felt necessary for survival. If I keep everyone comfortable, I will stay safe. And at some point in your life, that rule may have genuinely helped you. But the problem is that many people keep running this same survival script long after the original environment is gone. And slowly, the consequences begin to show up. The first consequence is exhaustion. When you constantly say yes to things that drain you, your energy slowly disappears. Not just physical energy, emotional energy, mental energy. You begin waking up tired. You begin ending every day depleted. Not because you're lazy, but because your attention is constantly being pulled in directions you never actually chose. The second consequence is resentment. At first, you convince yourself that you're just being generous. You tell yourself you're just helping people. But over time, something begins to build quietly beneath the surface. frustration, irritation, a sense of being taken for granted. You start feeling like people expect too much from you. But the uncomfortable truth is that many of those expectations were created by your own pattern. When you rarely say no, people begin to assume your answer will always be yes. Not because they are evil, but because human beings adapt to patterns. If someone always agrees, we eventually expect agreement. The third consequence is even deeper. People-pleasing slowly damages authentic relationships, because real connection requires honesty. And if you are constantly editing your thoughts, hiding your limits, and adjusting your personality depending on who you're with, then people are not actually connecting with you. They are connecting with a performance. They are connecting with the agreeable version of you, the easy version, the convenient version. And that is why many people who are extremely nice still feel strangely lonely. Because being liked is not the same as being known. You can be surrounded by people and still feel unseen, because the real you never actually entered the room. But the good news is that this pattern can change, and the first step begins with something extremely small: awareness. Start noticing the exact moment when you are about to abandon yourself. That moment right before you automatically say yes. That moment when someone asks you for something and your chest tightens slightly. That small signal in your body is not random. It is information. It is your internal boundary speaking. Most people ignore that signal, but learning to listen to it is where self-respect begins. The next time someone asks you for something and you feel that internal resistance, try something simple. Pause. Just 3 seconds. Do not answer immediately. That pause interrupts the automatic people-pleasing pattern. It creates a small space between the request and your response. And inside that space, you can ask yourself one question. Do I actually want to do this? If the answer is yes, then say yes freely. But if the answer is no, practice a short and respectful response. I can't take that on right now. Or, I won't be able to help with that. Notice something important. There is no long explanation, no apology, no complicated justification, just clarity. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. Your nervous system may react with anxiety. You may worry that the other person will be disappointed. You may feel guilty. But discomfort does not mean you did something wrong. It simply means you are doing something unfamiliar. Every time you protect a boundary, your brain learns a new message. My needs matter too. Another helpful step is identifying what drains your energy the most. Take 10 minutes and write down the 3 situations that leave you feeling most depleted. Maybe it's answering messages late at night. Maybe it's saying yes to plans when you desperately need rest. Maybe it's constantly solving problems that were never yours to solve. Once you identify those drains, choose one boundary to experiment with. Just one. For example, no work messages after 8 p.m. Or one evening each week completely for myself. Or I will not immediately respond to every request. These boundaries may seem small, but small boundaries slowly rebuild self-respect. Because every time you protect your energy, you send yourself a powerful signal. My well-being matters. Another important shift is learning to communicate directly. People pleasers often rely on hints. They hope others will notice their exhaustion. They hope someone will guess their limits. But healthy communication is clear. Instead of hinting, speak plainly. I'm feeling overwhelmed today. I won't be able to join. I need some quiet time tonight. Short, calm, direct. Direct communication may feel uncomfortable at first, but it creates stability. Because every time you express your needs honestly, you strengthen your internal confidence. And something interesting begins to happen. People start adjusting. The people who truly respect you will accept your boundaries. The ones who only benefited from your constant availability may resist. But that resistance is information. Healthy relationships survive honesty. Unhealthy ones depend on your silence. And perhaps the most powerful change is redefining what kindness actually means. Kindness is not endless self-sacrifice. Kindness includes you. A healthy person can be generous without being depleted, helpful without being overwhelmed, supportive without abandoning their own needs. Because real generosity comes from fullness, not exhaustion. So if you recognize yourself in these patterns, understand something important. You are not broken. You adapted. Your nervous system learned a strategy that once helped you navigate difficult situations. But survival strategies are not meant to become permanent identities. You are allowed to grow beyond them. You are allowed to speak honestly. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to rest. And you are allowed to say no. Because the moment you stop betraying your own needs is the moment something powerful begins to return. Your self-respect. And once that returns, something else changes too. Your relationships become more honest. Your energy becomes more stable. Your life begins to feel less like a performance and more like something you are actually living. The world does not need a smaller version of you. It does not need a quieter version of you. It does not need a permanently agreeable version of you. It needs the real one. And the real one begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself.